little tiny smiley face stickers that you use them. I use them for like rewards and like you did a good job kind of thing.
Yes.
You can put one right on the edge of your phone so you know that that is the way. They're like this big.
Yeah. Embrace it. Embrace it. Embrace it. Embrace it. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Oh, you gotta turn the audio.
The audio.
Yeah.
Where?
This one, the mic.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, so did I do this?
No, you need to do that.
Oh my gosh. What happens on Facebook Live? I am interviewing Kelly with lipstick.
Lolipops and hope.
Oh, of course I didn't say lollipops because in my immigrant head, the S was not in there. Okay, so right here.
Yes, ma'am.
Simple recorder.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, it's on, it's on, it's on, it's on. How is everybody doing? Oh my gosh, we've had so much fun. We're finally here. Is this like the 5 millionth time? Can you hear us?
I'm still cracking up. And
Yes.
I was still crying from last night.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're not going to tell him about the whole Viagra thing. No, we're not. Anyway, I'm already warm if you haven't noticed. I refuse to say menopause because no, I do not have that. Oh my gosh.
Denial's not good. Denial's
It's not
good.
just a river?
No.
I love you, Kelly. Anyway, so this is our interview, and I am so thankful, so grateful for having you in my life. I am.
I actually wrote something this morning about how I've met these most amazing women on my journey, and two of the most amazing women that I've met were in this facility.
And where are we? What is this facility?
This is Fitness for Everybody.
Shout out!
Gym,
Whoa.
yes. This is the gym that I started at eons ago, and then ended up coming back, and then I met you, and I've met so many people that have actually pushed me towards the platform that I actually had in my head. So it's amazing that God, I always believe that God put people in my path for a purpose.
Yes.
And He put these people in my path to really help me define and move forward with what my purpose really is. So
That's awesome.
That is gratitude.
That is gratitude. Mm-hmm. I believe that when we embrace the moment that we're in, so some people God puts to take you to that purpose, and you're grateful for that. But then you also have to be grateful that some people are just for a season in our lives, and those that we think are supposed to be permanent, but they're just for a season, that we mess ourselves up, because the Lord said, I'm just taking you from A to B, but we want to take them from A to Z.
Right.
And isn't that devastating when we think, hey, this person is supposed to be there forever?
I think what you just said is that the whole premise that I have a problem with is I think. So my problem is what I think is what's right.
Yes.
And when I start walking in the I forget the bigger purpose is the we, which is key for me. It's key, which is that path is something that I haven't created. It's something that I just have to follow. So when these people are put in my life on that path and that journey, and they're taken away, I'm grateful that I can take a step back, that I can manage the pain. I can say, okay, this really hurt this moment, staying present in that moment, and then realizing whether sometimes it takes me 3 months, sometimes it takes me a year to figure out, wow, if I would have stayed either with that person or with that job or with that circumstance, how different my life would be now and how miserable I would be now.
Yes. So many times we think it should go from here to there, like right quick.
Well, instant gratification.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we all want, right? We're that microwave generation of, come on, yesterday would have been good and this fast food is taking too long. Right, right. And I hope you're not eating fast food, because that's totally not gratitude, and that's not my message. So, lollipop?
Lipstick, Lolipops,
and Hope. So tell me more. That's your podcast.
That is the podcast.
And I'm excited.
I know you were you were episode 1.
And you're my episode 1 of Gratitude Transformation.
Yes. We said that we wanted
it's my homegirl, Kelly Danielle. Watch her, follow her.
So, you said that we wanted to be accountability partners.
Yes.
And that was in a time when you and I were talking. It was I had a hurt back, and I had done 3 episodes already. I still have 3 episodes that I have recorded, but again, like you learned yesterday, the first couple recordings don't always go the way that you want them. They're not instantly where I have the audio was the way I want it. I have the video was where I want it. I would get a video with no audio, or I would get the audio with no video, and I wanted it all in the same package. So I actually have 3 episodes that I need to find some kind of engineer, if there's anybody out there, contact me.
Yes.
That can separate the audio from the video and also add video to audio. So,
yes, so
yesterday. It's a learning process. So
it is.
To get back to your question, so Lipstick, Lolipops, and Hope was an idea that I had in my head for probably about the last 2 years. I went through a lot of trials, tribulations, divorce, gaining weight, depression, anxiety, self-sabotage, things that, I think a lot of women go through, but we just don't discuss. And I wanted to put a message out there. I kept hearing this voice saying, even if nobody listens, at least if you can help one person, one female, one male, it doesn't matter, because even though I can be a presence to somebody else, it doesn't matter what the gender. Okay,
so I want to get to something you just said.
Okay.
Why is it that we don't want to discuss it?
We talked about that yesterday. Okay, it's funny because it's not really a parable, but this thing that we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about how our house is clean or dirty. And I will always say, well, I don't want to have somebody come over because my house isn't presentable. And that's almost like I don't want to put something in my life or somebody in my life because it's not the perfect timing for me, or it's not the perfect season per se.
Exactly, as if there is such a thing.
So I think it's just more about that outside perception of, for me, and again, that was part of my post today, it was more, I need to be able to be vulnerable and be okay with whatever it is going on in my life.
Yes.
And being allowing somebody to see it and realizing that, hey, I'm not perfect either, so you can take all of my baggage and everything, and I'm going to show it to you, and I'm going to show you that even though there's things that have happened in my life, we can still move forward and make a positive impact.
Exactly, because a lot of people think I can only receive, or like when I was trying to get into the space of coaching and being able to mentor others and actually charge, because we've been doing that for years for free, right?
Yes.
I just, that whole conversation of am I worthy enough to charge? I mean, I led the recovery ministry for 10 years, and I've been part of recovery for almost 20 years, and I have sponsored.
Well, it's 27, which is amazing. This woman is like 27 years in sobriety.
By the grace of God.
Yeah, and, physical fitness, and you add everything else to it in a book, and, it's you have that ability to touch people's lives in not just one venue, which is recovery. Exactly,
but even though I still can stay in my head about perfection, like, so we were talking about yesterday about the fact that everything just has to be, oh my gosh, and if this alarm is cutting off my video, I am so not happy right now. But anyway, got gratitude, I hope so. We were talking about how everything just had to be a certain way, right? Like right now I'm interviewing you and I can't even think straight because this shirt, I just have to bring it down because it's that OCD, is it not?
We talked about that too, but
yeah.
Look, nobody can see that portion of my shirt. But you.
But me. And that's the problem, is it not?
Because nobody can really see what is going on in my head. They can't really see the fears, the doubts, the concerns, the things that I have in my head. They only see what's on the outside. So we talked about it yesterday. I perfect the outside and not work on the inside.
Yes.
And that's what, for years, that's what I always did. It was always, I perfected the outside so you didn't see the inside. I didn't want you to see what was really going on.
Yes, and one of the things that you said, someone that was mentoring you, coaching you, they said leave the dishes dirty, like
Yes.
leave. I'm like, oh.
No, I'll be real on that. That was a therapist. So.
I didn't want to put you.
That was
you see, that's why I love her, because she's like, okay, Glennis, let's really say it like it is.
The reality was,
Yeah.
I don't have OCD in the sense of like everything, but everything has a space, everything has a little place. I like everything wiped off, and I couldn't leave the house. Like I would think about the dirty dishes, and I would think the dirty dishes in my house was making my life a mess. It was this very twisted thinking. And he actually made me, this was probably about 8 years ago, he actually made me leave dishes in the sink every morning before I walked out the door. This was like my homework. And then at the end of the week when I went to go see him, we would discuss how I did. And I'm gonna tell you, the first 3 days, I would leave and I would stand outside of the front door going, but I can just nobody will know. You can just nobody will know. And then I had to realize that, and this goes on to a whole other topic, but you know, what I do without anybody watching is really who I am.
Exactly. So I don't even know who, I wish it was my quote, but I'm not who you think I am. I'm not who you say I am, but I am who I think you think that I am.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Is that something like, that's who I am?
Yeah.
Like, I don't show up authentically because I think you expect me to be this other person.
Right.
And that's really who I have become.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing.
Well, that's why it's funny, because we were laughing yesterday, because I'll curse every once in a while and they drop the F-bomb, and say the B word or whatever, and I don't change that, even, and I know I had a professional setting at work, but even at that, sometimes I'll drop the F-bomb with my boss. I'm like, oh, sorry, because that's who I am. That's, and I realize that I don't want to change who I am for anybody's perspective. You know, I am the person that needs a little more downtime to be able to help other people. So when I go out and I help other women, I'm coaching and counseling other women, I need a space after that to kind of reconnect. And I know
And
now
regroup. Yes,
yeah.
yes. And actually be present with yourself, so you can get that energy to actually, because then you're giving out of your abundance, not out of the lack.
Right.
And I see a lot of people, especially in a Christian gathering, like people that are leaders in the church, it's so sad because they're giving and they're giving and they're giving, and it's a great thing to give, but you also need to come back to self and come back to connect and come back to take care of yourself, so you can be giving out of the abundance, not out of resentment, out of I have to do this.
I've actually counseled women who their husbands are in a ministry, a fellowship ministry, and you know, the pastors, and they will give so much at home that their family life actually is not in chaos, but they are not connected to their family.
You mean they give so much at church?
Church, that's what I mean.
That
At home.
at home,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
as if our homes are not our first ministries, right?
Yeah.
I love how, you know, there's a lot of pastors' wives that recently I see more and more so that have gotten that. Hey, my job is to actually empower this man. My job is to support this man or this woman. Like, look at Joyce Myers,
Yes.
a powerful woman. But Dave sits back and actually supports that woman. He is a great man, right? But he actually supports, because that's the call that they have. And she's the one that's to be out there. But, so I wanted to ask you some questions.
Yes, yes.
When you think of the phrase gratitude transformation, so gratitude transformation is what changed my life. Gratitude changed my life forever, because I had all this stuff going on in my life, right? A lot of abuse. I mean, in the book, I go through my whole story. And there was a moment where I said, wait a minute, this is really good. Because I get to speak into the lives of women that have been abused. I get to speak into that woman that was divorced. I get to speak into that woman that her business didn't do well in the beginning. So this is good, because it's kind of like that Tony Robbins exercise in Date with Destiny. This is good because. And so when you think of gratitude transformation, what does that mean to you?
You and I were talking about these questions that you had presented to me, and for me, a lot of these are going to have the same backbone, and for me, it's just a shift in perception. So I can, you know, 8 years ago, and I will talk about, you and I talked about, I'll talk about, you know, my story at a later date, part of my story 8 years ago is I wanted to die and tried to commit suicide, right, in a manner that is not conducive. So, I mean, I don't think anyone is not conducive when you're talking about suicide, but I mean, I just didn't want to be here anymore because I couldn't find gratitude or joy in anything at that point in time. I struggled a lot with depression and anxiety, and there was just so many things that were going on in my life that to me weren't going my way. They weren't going instant gratification. I mean, I was in my 30s, I was getting a divorce, I didn't have children, I thought I was gonna have the white picket fence, the 2.5 kids, and the car and the boat and everything that went along with it. And I had a portion of that, but none of it I was grateful for. And even when I came to in a hospital bed in Delray Medical Center, I had a woman who was there, and she was telling me that, you know, you have to find something in gratitude, and you have to be grateful, and even if it's just the sun is shining, and that was my first depiction of it. And it's just a switch in perception of reality. It's a switch of, okay, yes, like this happened last week. So I had, you know, at work, I had, you know, a client vomit on me. I had a flat tire in this huge van. I had a dead battery by the time we got home, and by the time we got back to our facility. And I looked up and I laughed because during that whole thing this whole chaos that was going on, one of my clients, I deal with clients with special needs, with disabilities, mental and physical, and she looks at me and she says, you know, she's like, this is the best day ever. And I said, why? And she looks up at the sky and she looks at me, she goes, because we're just here having fun. I love you, Kelly Welly. And that, for all of the things that happened, I found that little piece was my gratitude for the day.
Exactly, exactly. So that exercise that they told you at Delray Medical, and I myself, at 19 for a whole year, tried to commit suicide, so I know what that's like. And to someone that's in jail, doing a lifetime sentence, the sun is everything. Just that one more time to look at my mother, or to look at my child, or my spouse, or my, you know what I mean? Like, that's everything, where we have it every single day and we take it for granted.
Well, part of the exercise when I went to the CI, when I got released from that hospital stay after 8 days, and a lot of other things went on, part of my exercise with my therapist was to do a gratitude list every single night.
Yes.
And I would make the same list every single day, and I would literally think to myself, this is so stupid. I am listing the same things: my dog, the roof over my head, the food in my mouth, and the gas in my car. Okay, and they said that you're as I was listing it, I was rolling my eyes. So yes. the gratitude wasn't really there. I wasn't really doing the exercise. I was going through the motions, which is what most of us do. We go through the motions. We get up, we go to work. You know, then I come home and I make dinner. And you know, but if I can actually say, wow, I was able to get up and go to work. I have a job to go to work to. I may not have all the money that I would want in my bank account. And honestly, I don't think that anyone has all the money they want, even if they have enough to survive, because we're always striving for more and to get more. That's the nature of the way it is.
But look at Warren Buffett. It just depends what exactly you value as important. Yes. The man doesn't have to work another day in his life, but he continues to work so he can build those nonprofits, because that's everything to him. Look at people like Tony Robbins, going back to him. He doesn't have to work another day of his life, but he wants to be able to continue to feed the millions, because that's really his purpose. He himself did not have anything, and someone came to the door and fed his family. And his perception of that was, people do really care. And he said, this is what I want to do. When I think of your story, and I think of, again, going back to your message, lipstick, why lipstick?
Oh, okay. So originally this podcast came out of some trials and tribulations I was going through with relationships with men. And I had my girlfriend and I we would have like sleepovers and summer parties, and we would throw around ideas, and we would talk about different dates, and I was writing a book about red flags on dating, and we had all these stories, and I was like, I would love to do a podcast. I was like, but I wanted to be kind of funny and engaging and entertaining, but when we started to actually hash it out, at that point in time, I wasn't in the best of mental spaces as a sense of, it would have been a men bashing podcast. It really would have been. And when I started to think about it and want to take it further, I said, you know what, I don't want to do that. That is not who I am inside. I'm just hurt at this point in time. I want people to know, women and men, that there's hope. Like, you can get hurt. You can get hurt physically, mentally, spiritually, and there's hope on the other side. So the lipstick portion was, I wanted, my audience was going to be more towards the women. That was the lipstick portion. The Lolipops portion was because it was going to be, although I want to talk about serious topics, I want to laugh. I want to have a good time, because my mom always taught me, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. So I came from a home where, you know, my father left at 8, and he's still in the picture, and I love my dad, you know, but really it ended up being my sister, my mom, and my dad my sister and my mom and and myself through trials and tribulations of everything. You know, whether it's broken down cars, whether it was getting into college, whether it was applying for scholarships, and we had a lot of heartbreak throughout those years. And my mom would always say, she would come up with some kind of funny line or a joke, and she said, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry. So that was the Lolipops portion, and the hope obviously is the hope. I want to bring it back to either, again, for you it was gratitude, and for me it's what's the hope, whether it is, you know, your spiritual, whether it's God, whether it's Allah, whether it's nature, what is it, the hope? How did you find the hope in your situation? So a lot of people that I'm going to be talking to have had trials and tribulations, not so much recovery, not so much abuse, it's going to be all across the board. It's going to be, they went to jail. It's going to be, you know, that they were adopted or something like that, to where they had to find something else. It is recovery too. There's a girl that I'm going to be interviewing that was on Dr. Phil, and she came from a very great family, but put herself in this destitute situation, and then came out the other side, which is just amazing.
And the stories, the greatest stories of gratitude, like when I think of Oprah Winfrey, that woman is extremely grateful. And they usually come from stories of someone that actually has known the other side of struggles, of hurt, of pain, and then all of a sudden it's like they're grounded and center. Okay, this is good. Right. This is good, and there is a reason as to why. For me, gratitude came 20-something years ago. I remember vividly, it had to be about 20 years ago. I was pregnant with my daughter Joy, our youngest, and my ex-husband was dating this girl he was with for 8 years. And I was like, you know, just found out again that he's with her. And I was sitting in my car after church saying, like, Jesus, you don't even work. Like, I have served you, I have done this, and this is still not working. And I am pregnant. We thought at that point that Joy was going to be special needs. And there I am going through a divorce. This man is again with a girl, and I'm going to be a single mom with now a special needs child. And the Lord just allowed me to see. And I wrote on my journal 20 years ago, as I was sitting around 10 p.m., my kids sleeping in the car, and I'm just crying as they, you know, they ran around, did their thing at church, and I'm just crying. And I have those notes from that journal of what the Lord downloaded in gratitude. And I started actually praying for this woman. And when I went back to those journals, I said, gratitude from that moment on, the Lord told me just write and thank me for everything. And I just started doing that on a daily basis. And that's really, I contacted, I don't even know, I made a post, and my pastors then, Pastor Wall, he said, Glennis, you might have been going through all this hell in your life, but none of us knew. Right. Because none of us would have known that all that was really happening, because you did it with a smile, you did it with joy, you did it with strength, and it was just a beautiful thing. And I believe that if we did more of that, like more of that, I mean, this podcast that you're putting, that you launched, is for that person, to give that person hope. Yeah. So I love the name. I wanted my chairs, you can't see my chairs, But they have lipstick on it, do they not?
Yes, but I also told you it was your. I knew that I knew exactly how I wanted the logo. Like I went to bed and there was a certain script that I wanted. There was a certain, and I actually saw the lipstick script from you had a thing in the window. And I think again, I don't believe in irony. So the people that I met that actually pushed me towards. So it was your sign, it was somebody I met here, it was you, it was somebody else that I met here. It was just all of these whole things that happened collectively to push me forward to say, you know what, we just need to do this, you know. Whether, and I am out of my comfort zone. I don't like pictures. If you look at my Facebook, most of my Facebook is not pictures of me, it's pictures of memes, or, you know, it's just, I'm uncomfortable with that. And video, just not really my thing. So this is out of my comfort zone for sure.
Exactly. And when I believe, you know, when the Lord puts us in that place of being uncomfortable and out of our, this is what I feel comfortable with. It's not about us, it's about others, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, through this whole process, not only that, but I've also learned that if I stay in my comfort zone, I don't grow. So exactly, you know, growing comes from that uncomfortability, and I have to push myself a little further. And that's like in the gym, you know, when I have, you know, we're not going to push through pain, but we're going to push through that uncomfortableness of the next set or the next rep or whatever it is. To
that's when muscles break down. Yeah. We have to go through the pain, because if we don't go through the pain, nothing happens. Right. And we all avoiding pain. Yeah. And in recovery, we say you have to open up, because it's infected underneath, and you have to open it up and it's gonna hurt. But once you go back to that and you heal, and all the pus comes out and it's ugly and it smells and it's dirty, seriously, then you're able to actually say, okay, it's healed. Right. But the reason why a lot of people do not recover, a lot of people stay in the same place and they cannot step into their gratitude, is because they don't go back and try to figure that out. Right. Right. So have you experienced your own gratitude? And if so, what's the defining moment when you realize that you wanted gratitude to be your way of life?
I did touch on it. It was that 8 years ago when I just didn't want to live anymore. I just didn't feel that there was any purpose. I didn't feel that I was useful to anyone in this world. I felt that, you know, I was better off. My family didn't need me. I was more of a burden than anything else. And then when I went to that hospital, I met that one nurse. And I still don't know her name. I want to go back and tell her thank you. And I don't even know her name.
Okay, so wait. We're going to go back together to that nurse and find her. Just like I need to go back to that nurse that was in ICU 2 years ago. And just said, you're going to be okay. Yeah. You're going to be okay. And it's been 2 years, and not every day, but every time I think of him, I have pictures with him. They're on my website. And when I had no hope, he kept saying, I shouldn't say when I had no hope. When the doctors did not give me a lot of hope for me to walk again, you know, he was my ICU nurse. He was assigned to me. And I keep saying, I'm going to go back and say thank you. Yeah. I want him to see me walking. I want him to see that I'm doing good. But it's been 2 years, and for you, it's been 8 years. So let's become accountability on that. Let's go back.
That'll be another one.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, great. So tell me more. Why is gratitude an important aspect of your life?
And like I told you, a lot of these will kind of go along with some of the original questions. For me, it keeps me grounded. It keeps me in this positive frame of mind as far as my perception. So if I'm grateful for, like last night, for instance, you know, I had a great time with you yesterday.
We laughed.
Oh, we laughed.
We were together how long? Like 3 hours?
3 or 4 hours.
Okay, and I'm so...
And we got nothing accomplished.
No.
We got a lot accomplished.
Yes.
Keep telling me, we learned how not to do things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
shout out to Gary.
Yes. Gary. Yeah, Arias. Stephen Arias. Yes. Thank you, Gary, if you're watching this.
Because he FaceTimed us to try to figure this stuff out, which was very sweet. So if you need any kind of photography of anything, he's the man.
Yes, if you need an event done the right way and you don't want to figure it out, definitely Gary. But this morning, that's what I said to Corey. I said, or last night, I said, Corey, I'm meeting Kelly again. We're gonna try this interview for the third time, and you know, her perspective of gratitude is awesome. I said, we got nothing done, and she said, oh no, we definitely got a lot done. And it was exactly your words.
Yeah.
We learned what not to do.
What not to do.
That's pretty awesome. Really good. Very cool. Love that. Other than material possession, what are the things you're most grateful for and why?
Oh, definitely sharing my testimony, being able to be a little more open and vulnerable than I was many years ago. I'm grateful to allow new people in my life, because even as of 3 years ago, I remember saying this to somebody I met at the gym. They wanted to friend me on Facebook, and I said to him, because I'm very standout, I said, well, you know, I'm very selective on who I choose on my Facebook. Like, who says that?
Love that.
Okay, who says
I
that?
do.
Okay, so, and I laugh about it now, because as long as, I'll look at, you know, I probably have about 900 requests still now that I go through, and I'll look at, you know, are they spreading a positive message? You know, are they just, I call it trolling, in the sense of, you know, do we have some of the same friends? You know, that kind of stuff. But now, because I want to spread a message and a positive testimony, give people hope, I'm not selective in the sense of, you know, who you are or what you can do for me, which is what I was, you know, before I tried to commit suicide, you know, and that's perception has changed. So, and as far as material things, they're not, I mean, I work for nonprofits, so they're obviously not that important to me, you know.
Love that. Love that. Well, I think that you value what's important.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. You value what's important. And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with having material things. No, I believe that God is an abundant God, and He wants us to be taken care of. But when we value material things more than other things that are more important, like the connection we have with people, if there's one thing that I learned after the accident is to be connected. Like, I actually look at people in the eyes. I'm present with them. Before, it was like I was on my phone, and you could be talking, and you could be my kid or my spouse, but I'm, you know, I'm doing this or doing that. Yeah. So there are people who face so much adversity in life. Some know how to handle it and others don't. How can someone use gratitude to like shift them out of that adverse situation?
Like I said, I call it switch in perception, or flipping the switch.
Yes.
Or flipping the script is what I call it.
Yes.
When I'm working with it, it's okay. This occurred. You know, we'll take it. Not so much, but this occurred. Yes, this occurrence was negative. Yes, it happened. I'll give you another example. So, I had a girl who, she was complaining about her job. She didn't like it, and I said, well, you know, understand that you can always go find another job. We're not stuck in where we are. So, you know, rather than talking and taking the negative portion of it, take what you've learned from that position and go put a resume out. She decided not to. I said, understand. I said, when God is in your life, He will give you the opportunity to step out of that position. So He's nudging you, saying, you know, you really should go find something else. You're not content. You're unhappy. And then I said, if you don't do it, He'll do it for you, right? So then she was terminated. And she came back to me and said, you know, I can't believe this happened. I said, no, this is a blessing. This is a blessing, because if this did not occur, you would have not gotten out of that comfortable zone and miserableness if He didn't push you out. So now you can get your resume together, you can find a better position, you know, paying more. It may be a little more difficult, but however, it's what you needed. It's to get out of that comfort zone. And unfortunately, sometimes you have to be pushed, and God will say, hey, you should really do that.
Yes.
You should really do that. And then you go, no, I think I'm going to stay right here. I think this is really good for me. I think I'll do all my stuff through Facebook. I'm not going to do a podcast. I'm just going to do all my stuff through Facebook. And he goes, boom, no, you're not.
Yeah, you're not.
You're not.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
you're going to do this.
You're going to do this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it talks about. It's finding that gratitude. So if something is happening or that is occurring, and again, I've learned that, you know, it's not occurring to me. Life is just occurring.
Yes.
You know, and that's just the way it is. It just happens to be that I'm in that parameter, that shift, a paradigm shift that's occurring. And then I need to make that way to say, okay, this kind of sucks, but this is what I've learned from that situation. And
Yeah, because there's
I've learned I've learned that 4 hours of trying to make something work, I know how it doesn't, how it's not going to work.
Exactly. And today we have chosen to shift.
Yes, today
we shifted. We actually were doing it through our phone.
Yes.
The whole Mevo thing did not work, and I was like, wait a minute. I bought the Mevo. I even bought the extra battery, and all of this is not working. Like, why? It doesn't matter why. It really doesn't. It's happening. I say life is happening for me.
Yes.
And if I find the good in it, if I find the gratitude in it, then we're all gonna be okay. What are 3 things you would encourage our listeners to do in order to live a life of gratitude? And, for example, lay down the pride, be thankful in adversity. Like, what would you recommend?
So 3 things for me is finding that positive, even if it's one sliver of positivity. So for me, like I talked about that day when all of those things occurred, that one positive was I could see my client and she was smiling and she was happy that she was with me. You know, that was enough. That one sliver of all the things that were happening. Being mindful of, for me, how I spend my time and who I'm spending it with, to know that I'm grateful for the time that I'm spending. So if I'm not content and happy in a situation, whether it's work, a relationship, whatever it is, that time I'm spending, I can walk away and say that was a good thing. And I think probably you mentioned it is pride, putting my ego aside, realizing that, and I always say it, I'll curse, I don't know shit. I realize that now, who I thought I could handle everything, do everything, but that's what got me into the self-sabotage that I got myself into, is that I got this. Because at the time I was 15, I had to handle everything. I had to, help my sister pay the bills and all this stuff, and if I didn't do it, it didn't get done. Realizing now that that's not the case, that I can actually put myself out there, I can ask for help, and I can say, hey Glennis, I'm having a tough day, like, make me laugh, help me, guide me, pray with me, whatever it is.
And being able to be open, it goes back to the first question that I asked you. Why are people not being real? Like, we're so that filter, I'm gonna put a filter in this picture, I'm gonna show you my best. As if you're a coach, I'm serious. If you're a coach and you think that I'm gonna buy you because you're just this perfect person, when I look at pictures and if they're too perfect, and I'm not saying that for branding, we don't take nice professional pictures, we do. But if that's all I see on your feed, like, there's something wrong. I want to see some where you're taking off your lashes and there is no makeup and like it's ugly, and I want to see the ugly cry, because that's how I'm going to receive from you, the real you. So if given the opportunity to change a situation in your life when you were not grateful, what was that situation and how would you have done it differently?
Okay. This one is, I might cry on this one. So
cry. You're in a safe space. Yeah.
So I always tell anyone who I work with that we can't regret the past or shut the door. Right. That's part of like getting healing and parting understanding.
Wait. Say that one more time slowly.
You can't regret the past nor shut the door on it.
Yes.
Okay. However, when you're talking about, the question is, if given the opportunity to change the situation in your life, right? Where you were grateful, where you weren't grateful, what would you do? So when I was 15, my mom was diagnosed with COPD. At the age of 17, she went and had a double lung transplant. At the age of 20, she was dying again and was taken home and said, hospice needs to be called, and then you need to kind of figure it out. However, there was a lot of other things that occurred at that time. I was not aware that my mother was told that hospice was needed to be called. So we took her from the hospital bed to her best friend's home, which was about 10 or 15 minutes from my house. I worked 45 minutes away, so I was driving 45 minutes to go to work. I was working a full 8-hour day. Mind you, this was at 20. Working a full 8-hour day, driving 45 minutes to go to school, going to college, leaving college at 9 o'clock, driving to my mother's home to bathe her and wash her and feed her because her insurance at that point in time wouldn't kick in or wouldn't approve a nurse to come at home with her. And they hadn't called hospice yet because my mom didn't want to tell us, I guess, is really what I found out afterwards. So this was going on in my head. So I was not grateful because A, I didn't know she was dying. I just thought she was sick. And B, you gotta realize I was 20. I didn't put all the pieces together. And B, so I was going to her home on a resentment that I had to bathe this woman, feed her, wash her, do all these things, and I had homework to do. I had to go to school the next day. I had to go to work the next day. So I was not grateful. The night that she passed away, the very next day I had a final. So the night that she passed away, she looked at me and she said, sweetie, she said, listen, I know you have a final tomorrow. Go home, get some rest. Just know that I love you for everything that you've done for me. You are an amazing daughter. And I love you. And I left. I left. Didn't think anything of it. Nothing. 7 a.m. in the morning, I get a call. I found your mother dead on the floor. Can you come? So I get there before the coroner, before anybody, to find my mother face down, dead. So I wish at that point in time, I was more grateful to have that additional time with her. I had an additional 3 years. I wish that I could have gone back to that night, and I wish I would have stayed longer. I wish I would have not been so busy to stop and say, you know, Mom, thank you for all that you've done for me. Thank you for, you know, being a single mom, not bringing a man into our home to try to support you because it was the best thing for you and not the best thing for the children. Thank you for being a provider, almost a sole provider, you know, of our family. And thank you for not, we didn't go without anything. We didn't go without food. I had a car by the time I was 16. My sister had her own car by the time she was 16. I mean, it wasn't just the monetary things. And it was all through loving us. It was through laughter rather than crying. We laughed at our house. We didn't cry. So that right there is the only thing that I could say that I would change. I don't regret, because she actually said to me what she needed to say before she died. But I would change it.
I wanna let you know that if your mother was here, she would tell you the same things. Kelly, I love you. And thank you for all that you have done for me. At 20, it's not the same. The wisdom, the gratitude, the value that you have learned through those years of valuing what's truly important. But even then, you showed up.
Yes.
You showed up and you did it. Okay? You did it. Not every mother can say that. I was in a wheelchair, calling out to my children and saying, I just want a glass of water. And not necessarily you get the response that you gave your mother. So even in what you did, you may think it wasn't good. But can you imagine driving to work, even now as an adult, and understanding, an hour and a half, going to school, going to college, and coming and still doing it? Love is not, oh, come on, let's do this. Love is consistency. Love is showing up. Love is commitment, which you did that. Thank you. So on behalf of mothers, I want to say thank you for being a great daughter. And I'm grateful for you. See, now I love you a little bit more.
And now you've seen the ugly cry. So.
That's right. So you better subscribe to this woman's podcast. So
Lipstick, Lolipops, and Hope.
And how do they find you?
I have a Facebook, which is under Kelly Danielle, which by the way is not my last name, but Kelly Danielle is my Facebook. Instagram is Lipstick, Lolipops, and Hope. Spotify actually will, I believe it's on Spotify, radio, something. I can post it on both of them. There's 4 different avenues that it's on. And again, I just don't remember all of them. It's not on iTunes yet, but it will be. But Spotify is probably the main one that people.
So we're gonna drop the link here on the comments.
Yeah, because my guest, which will be dropped tonight, is an amazing woman who she, like I said, she came from a good family. Again, got lost in addiction and came out the other side. She's just a powerful woman when it comes to spirituality, family, and her story is just amazing. I don't want to give it away, so you have to listen tonight. She's awesome.
That's awesome. So before I ask you my last question, I want to ask you something. I want you to speak to that woman that you were 8 years ago. That woman, that man that feels like suicide is the answer.
I have a tagline that I put on everything that I do, and it's a life motto for me. This too shall pass. All of life in general is what I call ebbs and flows. There's hills and valleys and everything. We're not always on a hill, and we're not always on a valley. So it's almost like a roller coaster. I tell anyone that I work with, life is like a roller coaster. The only thing that I want at the end of that ride is to look back and say, damn, I want to do that again.
I love you, Kelly. Here's my last question. Yes. What is your ultimate gratitude?
Oh goodness, my ultimate gratitude is to actually being able to see the gratitude. Being able to pull one speck of positivity out of every negative situation. That's my ultimate gratitude.
Thank you. We'll link those together on the name Lipstick, Lollipop, and Hope.
Lollipops with an S.
Lollipops. See, that immigrant tongue doesn't say it, but what linked those together was a little sign that I had on my door. I used it the other day and I put it down, but it's called On a Bad Day, There's Always Lipstick. And I hope your lipstick is gratitude. I hope that you get so grounded into what is good today that you actually say, this is a great day. This is a great day, no matter what you're going through, the divorce, the bankruptcy, the abuse, whatever. This is good because there's going to be a woman a few years from now that's going to show up in your life, and you're going to be able to relate and bond with her because of that. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
I love you.
Thank you.
Follow her. Lipstick,
Lollipops,
and Hope. It's going to be, the link is here, and on Instagram you find her under the same name.
It's under the same name.
And then on Facebook is Kelly.
It's an EY. Danielle. But I also do have a page under Lipstick, Lollipops, and Hope.
There you go. That's her fan page.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Safe, right?
Thank you, Jesus.